well, why don't we have a threesome? Her reaction was like, really? Were you faking it? Would you rather be with somebody else? Do you wish it was your ex? I'm nothing! She cucked me!
Estimated 45% to 58% of American men are cucks. Today, we have a video here called I Thought I'd Like Being Cucked. I Didn't. This is from 2 years ago. Yeah, wow. What a title here we have. I thought I'd like being cucked. I didn't. Shit, people be posting anything on YouTube. So yeah, he sort of looks like a cuck. But we're gonna, I'm interested. That's all I gotta say is I'm interested. Let's get into it.
Hey everybody, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience being cucked, particularly something that happened between me and my ex-wife. Now, before I begin, there are two things that you need to know about my ex-wife. Okay, number one, she loved getting jiggy with it, right? She loved it. She was like an animal. And she died. So that was kind of like a chicken and the egg scenario, you know, divorce, death, which came first. But point is, whichever way you slice it, she's out of my life. I never knew if your partner dies, does that automatically mean they're your ex, you know? But anyway, this is not normally a story that I probably would feel comfortable telling because it's very personal, right? But the reason I wanted to tell it was because, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've sort of been blowing up lately, you know? And so I feel like now I have a little bit more of a platform, and that allows me to sort of provide people a perspective on things that they wouldn't normally see. For example, cucking is kind of a joke, right? It's sort of considered a punchline in our culture. And for me, it's the exact opposite, because I have always struggled with insecurity, dysfunction in the bedroom and everywhere else. I mean, if you've watched this YouTube channel for more than 5 seconds, you probably could tell that I'm very mentally ill, right? So cucking for me is sort of more of a therapeutic exercise, right? It's sort of an emotional, ritualistic sort of thing.
Did this guy just say that cucking is his therapy? Not exercise, not eating better, not going out and getting some sun. Cucking.
And basically, like I said, I had a very, very difficult time my entire life sort of making it happen in the terms of intimacy. And so it really wasn't until my ex-wife and I got together and then really got to know each other and got comfortable with each other that I was able to have anything remotely resembling physical intimacy.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never actually met a dude that had struggled down there. Probably because this is not something that most people talk about, but I wonder, I meet people that say that they're getting it on multiple times a day, even with their girlfriend and boyfriend and stuff. And I'm like, shit, that's kind of a lot, multiple times a day. But then I'm sure there's people like this guy that he can't even get it up if he wants to. So let's see, I'm gonna look up what is the average amount of times to get it on in the bedroom, if you know what I mean. Let's see, what is the average amount of times to get it on with a partner in a week? Let's see. What's considered normal here? On average, couples do it about once a week, 54 times per year. Okay. Once a week, that's I guess that's pretty normal. But people who do it multiple times a day, honestly, how? At a certain point, that shit has to get old, right? Don't you have other things that you need to be doing That's what I think. Like, I couldn't do it multiple times a day because I got too much shit in my life to take care of. But then also I'm like, shit, for like, I wonder, there has to be couples out there that just never do it, right? Like, for whatever reason they can't, or maybe one's just, he has no drive anymore, she has no drive anymore. Like, that is becoming a serious issue in America. And yeah, I wonder how they handle that relationship. Like, man, that must make things tough as well. But there is solutions, right? Like, you could take some things to fix that. But let's get back to it.
And so, even when it was good, you know, even when it was even the best night that we had, I was still, it would be over and I would think, you know, I would obsess over, were you faking it? Would you rather be with somebody else? Do you wish it was your ex? You know, all this stuff. And I would grill her basically every night about all these things. Then that started to spill over into my daily.
Even that, like, that's just a weird thought, bro. Like, immediately after you do it with a girl, you're immediately wondering if she was thinking about another guy? Like, why? Why would you torture yourself like that? Even if she was, bro, like, I don't want to know that shit.
Life, you know, I would, that would become, are you cheating on me? Are you, you know, why aren't you texting me back? Why aren't you calling me? Do you even love me? All this stuff. And it got very, 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 very difficult for both of us. And that really started to sort of fray our relationship, you know, and it started to, I remember very vividly one night, I had a dream. That's not like Martin Luther King, not that kind of dream. I hope he didn't have a dream like this, otherwise he would be pretty freaky.
Hey, if I had to guess if Martin Luther King was a cuck, I think I'm putting more money on, like, I think him being a cuck is the favorite, you know? That's just my opinion. I think Martin Luther King was a cuck.
Oh, he's kind of, you know, maybe. Anyway, I had a dream. Now I can't stop thinking about Martin Luther King.
Matter of fact, Martin Luther King was definitely a cuck.
I had a nightmare. Let's say that. I have a nightmare. Evil Dr. King, right? I had a nightmare where my wife was engaging in an act of physical intimacy in front of me, and I couldn't do anything about it, and she was doing it to humiliate me. She was tormenting me with it, right? And it started to become a recurring nightmare. And eventually I brought this up to her, and I said,
this guy's valid now. Like, he's talking about having relationship problems. I think if I was having dreams of getting cucked, I think I would probably end that relationship as well. Like, I don't know. I'd be like, this shit is a sign from somewhere in the universe that I should not be with this woman or this man.
Dream were you? At the time, I didn't know exactly that that's what it was called, cucking. But I told her, I have been having this nightmare where you physically, or you torment me, psychologically and physically, you know, in this way. I don't want to say it because I don't want to get YouTube to get all pissy with me, but yeah, basically, yeah, I told her, and she said, I thought she would think it was funny, but she really did not. And she said, you know what? I am getting sick of you having this idea of me in your head, this figment of your imagination who is evil, right? You have invented a version of me that is evil and is trying to ruin your life, and you think that's me, right? You projected that onto me. So that's what's causing all the problems in our relationship. And at the time, I was sort of like, okay, lesson learned. Don't tell you anything ever again. Right? Zip. But, you know, after I started to think about it, and I started to realize she was exactly right. I was right on the money. And I sort of sat with this for a little bit, and I, you know, I started to I worked with my therapist, trying to figure out how to sort of get the evil version of her out of my head. But it was just, It's very, very deep-seated problems that I have. So basically, one night we had an argument. And it was about something so dumb, I don't even remember what it was, but basically you know how it's like every argument isn't really about the thing that it's about. It's like most couples have the same argument over and over again their entire relationship, right? Same thing. And that's definitely the case with us. And it got to a point where she said, what do? We cannot continue going on like this. So we have to either do something or end it. And I, as a joke, said, well, why don't we have a threesome, you know? And I was expecting her to laugh. I was trying to break the tension with that. But her reaction was like, really? And I could tell that she was actually interested. And I said, well, I was joking, but I was at a place where I feel like I'm such a pathetic loser in relationships. I was at a place where I was ready to do anything. You're going to probably hear the rest of the story and you're going to say, you're so stupid. But you have to understand, I was in a place where I would do anything to just have her love me again, right? I would do anything to have her, to just fix it. And I didn't know at the time, nothing will do that. It's not possible. But so when I said the threesome remark, and she said she was interested, I said, I was just joking. But if you are interested, then I'll think about it. And she said, you know what? Yeah. And the reason why...
See, I think that's a red flag, bro. Like, if you're talking about having a threesome, and she immediately is like, hell yeah, let's do it. I'm like, whoa. What's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, that was a little too fast.
She said that was because this is probably important context I should have mentioned earlier. She was polyamorous before we got married. So she sort of lived her whole life, slinging it all around town, and everybody was just supposed to be fine with that, And I made that an ultimatum. I said, I cannot do that. So either it's probably not going to work between the two of us. But we fell so in love that she was willing to give that up for me. And talking about it now, I don't think I ever really appreciated that the way that I should have. And that's my bad. I did a lot of things wrong up until this point, right? Well, and still, anyway, she said, okay, let's do a threesome. So I was like, okay, sort of hesitantly, but I figured I could let her have this because she gave in to me to get married, and so I can give in to her a little bit. Compromise, right? So I sat with it for a few more days, and then I came to her. I had sort of, I do a lot of surfing on the internet,
What I want to know is this a threesome with a dude or a girl, right? Because that either goes from like cucking or cool. So yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
So it's almost impossible to not find something about cucking in some way or shape or form, And I had sort of stumbled into it.
That's what I want to know. When did cucking become popular? Because I hadn't heard of this term or even what this was. I had never heard of another man watching another man go in, right? Or whatever. Like, I had never seen a man want to watch another man just hammer his chick. Like, that was foreign to me. Until 2023 when I had a friend tell me what that was. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, who the fuck? Why would you put yourself through that? But now it's like so common. Like, you got Ian Gary, you got Sneeko, you got like all these famous cucks. And then I have a friend who does OnlyFans. Or I can't even say that, right? I have a friend that does OF. She's an OF creator. And she tells me that like 70% of her demographic, her fans, are cucks. People who want to be guys that want to be dominated by women. And you tell it like, isn't that kind of a red flag? Like, where are we as a civilization where men just want to be dominated by women? Like, that has to be a new thing, right? Not a new thing. I don't think that cucking is a new thing. I just think that cucking has gotten way more popular in this generation. I would say this century. It's probably been around forever, if I had to assume. But, like, with how popular it is right now, I just feel like no way, bro. Like, no way. But it also makes sense, because if you think about what corn is, right? Corn with a C, TikTok. It's basically you're a cuck, right? Like, you want to sit there and watch another guy, you know what I mean? Like, do the deed. Like, that's basically being a cuck. So then now you kind of understand why we have so many cucks in our civilization. You know what I'm going to look up? I'm interested. Which country in the world has the most cucks? Where is this most common? I also want to look up what ethnicity has the most cucks. I'm not going to lie, I already know the answer, but I just want to see if Google will tell me. What country has the most cucks? Let's see. There is no specific data for this. What would you guess? Let's see if it even answers this. Wow. Okay. So this is from Google, everybody. Based on search trends, adult website traffic, a 2001 global survey conducted that the United States and the United Kingdom generally reported the highest interest in cuck-related content and fantasies. That's fucking sad, bro. Alright, get this. The countries with the most search engines for cuck-related shit is the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. These Western countries, bro, like, what the fuck's going on in our heads, bro? Shit. Hey, at least Mexico's not on there. At least Mexico is not on there. Like, let me see. North America's down bad, but Mexico's up in this specific category. What about Mexico? Were they high on the list? It says in the middle. Alright, whatever. Let me see. What percentage of the United States are cucks? Wow. Is this legit? This is from Google. It says an estimated 45% to 58% of American men are cucks, have fantasized about cuck holding. What the fuck? That can't be. No way, bro. You're telling me that every other American is a cuck? Dog. What? Half? If that statistic is true, we are beyond cooked. I thought it would have been like 1 out of maybe 10. And I thought that was a lot. But 1 out of every 2? Come on. No way, bro. I hope that's not true. Fuck.
To a Reddit community centered around it. And it was very cool. You know, they were very like-minded people. And we all sort of shared similar desires and similar problems. And, you know, so I
just gotta look this up. What ethnicity has the most cucks? Let's see. What ethnicity likes cucking the most? Dude, I can't believe that statistic, though. Alright, this is from Google again. Data shows that white men engage in oh wait, sorry. Let me re-say that. Data shows that white men engage in and consume cucking content at a very high rate, more than any other ethnicities in Western nations. White men, come on, bro. Y'all are fucking it up for all of us. Because when you look at the statistics, the U.S. has the most cucks. Around the whole world, we have the most cucks. And majority of that shit is white men, bro. What the fuck? Come on, man. Y'all making us look bad, bro. Damn. Shit. And like I said, I have a friend that does OF content. She tells me 70% of her audience are cucks. And you know what else she tells me? Most of them are white males. Gotta do better.
It's sort of been... as I was thinking about the threesome, I was like, well, I don't really feel like that would be good because I could barely make one person happy in the sack, let alone two. You know? So I said to her, what if instead of a threesome, you get with somebody else and you do it in front of me and I watch, right? And at first she laughed. This wasn't a joke. She thought this one was a joke. And she said, you want me to cuck you? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's I know it's considered a joke, but I said, yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe there's a concept in therapy called exposure therapy, okay? And that is basically when if you have a fear or a phobia, you expose yourself to the fear or phobia so that...
I always wondered, like, when a cuck approaches their significant other, the female, right? Because you never hear of, like, a girl wanting to watch a guy bang another chick. Like, you never hear of that. So when a dude approaches the girl and, like, hey, I want to be cucked, like, what is the reaction? Because I'm trying to think, if I was a woman and my boyfriend or husband approached me and was like, hey, I want to be cucked, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I don't think I would ever look at them the same. Like, I think I would look at them like less of a man. Like, you really want to do that? And I just feel like no way that relationship stays healthy. Like, I would assume that would, like, more often than not results in the relationship either ending or having real problems. You know? Like, I don't know. That's... How can you just go on about your relationship after doing cucking? Like, what?
You see it's not a big deal and you get over it. So if you're afraid of bees, kick a bee's nest. If you're a germaphobe, stick a sandwich in the toilet and eat it, or lick your own. I don't know. Point is, you expose yourself to the phobia, and then you see that it's not a big deal. So I said, my worst nightmare, literally my worst nightmare, is that I'm getting cucked. So what if it just happens, and then I'm like, okay, the worst thing that could ever happen happened. Now we can move on. Now I can stop living in fear of this thing happening constantly, and we can actually have a good marriage. It was a good idea. Even now that I'm saying it again, it seems like a good idea. But, okay, so I presented this to her with all my reason, and she said, okay. She was really interested. Well, too interested. That was probably the first red flag, but by the time I didn't really. So the next question became, should we pick somebody who we both know or a stranger? And at first I thought it would be better with somebody that we knew because then we can sort of talk about it and process things and all have we could even maybe go to thruples therapy, Look at me now, I'm becoming poly and I got tricked into it. Anyway. Then, we sort of started to realize, well, if it's we were going down the list of people who were contenders from our social circles, and I was realizing, I can't start going to trivia night and picturing you railing my wife every single time I'm trying to figure out.
I'm not gonna lie though, that shit would be cool. Like, I would low-key feel like the man if a dude approached me and was like, hey, I want you to rail my chick, and I'm gonna fucking watch. I don't know if I would do it. I'm not going to say that I would do it, but I would feel like, shit, I feel like the man right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would stroke my ego for sure. Just getting asked, bro. Like, I want you to rail my chick. I'd be like, shit, hell yeah. You approached me? Shit.
Who the 12th president was. So we said maybe it would be better to have a stranger. But then that became a daunting task in and of itself, because we were sort of like, well, do we go on Craigslist? Like what? And then eventually I sort of said, look, the whole point of this is that it is supposed to be humiliating for me, and it is supposed to be. So I'm going to give you the reins. You do whatever you want. You do it with whoever you want. And I just have to suck it up. That's the whole point. It's not just in the moment. It's the lead up and everything surrounding it. It's a psychological thing. So she said, okay, and I said, I promise it is okay. Never say that. So we picked out a date. Well, she picked out a date and said, you're going to do this, and that was what I wanted, So she said, we're going to do this here. It's going to be at the house. Another mistake. It's going to be with this person who I found on Hinge. And there we go. It's going to be great. So that night comes, and I'm very, 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 very nervous. I'm sort of, that's anxiety inducing, but another mistake that I made was that I sort of had an attitude of just power through it, because it's like mouthwash. The pain means that it's working. This is supposed to hurt. So the pain is good. Suck it up and get through it. So I probably would have stopped sooner had I had all the information that I have now in the future, but I didn't. So the time rolls around. I can't focus at work because I'm thinking about it, and then the night rolls around. It was a Friday night, and there's a knock at the door. He's here, right? She had told me she'd never met this guy before, and she was acting like she had never met this guy before. But as soon as she opened the door, I could swear there was a little bit of it was like a flicker of recognition. It was like they said, oh, nice to meet you, hi, how are you? My name's so-and-so. But the look in her eye seemed like she knew who this person was. But I can't say anything because I'm going to sound like a crazy person. But that was sort of a stomach drop moment. But I said, no, it's all in your head, because I'm paranoid about everything else. How do I know what's right and what's not? That's my torment in life. So I said, okay, whatever. He comes in, and they're sort of like, well, should we make small talk, or do you want to get into it? We had put out a little charcuterie board. My wife likes doing that kind of stuff.
Feeding him hors before he rails your wife is that's some next level cucking. Like, bro has love for the game, that's for sure.
Probably should have been another red flag how into it she was getting. It was like it was going to be a date. She had lit candles and cheese and all this stuff and wine. So he starts having crackers and talking about all just the weather and all this stuff. And then eventually they say, okay, it's time. Like they started acting like they had been talking about this before. And that wasn't exactly something that I had said, no, that's for no. But still, it was weird that it seemed like they were the team and I wasn't. I guess I'm complaining about exactly what I wanted, and I told her that. But I don't know, it's just all these things I was starting to really, 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 really get agitated and anxious. And I should have stopped it. I should have said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. But I didn't, because I thought that was supposed to be good. I thought that was the way it was supposed to go. So they say, okay, we are going to start. Let's go in the bedroom. So I walked in, and I felt like I was about to puke. I sit in a chair that we had positioned there, the Cuck chair, right? I sit down. And Knowing probably what I should have done was face the dude and see the back of my wife's head, because what sunk me was I sat behind the guy and I saw my wife's face straight on. So I was looking at her face, processing every single micro expression that she was emitting. She walked over to the guy.
Wow. It's one thing to get cucked, but it's another thing to stare your wife in the soul as she is getting railed. My man has PTSD after that, that's for sure.
And she was so excited. The look on her face of excitement when she was coming up to him and leaning in, and she was like, I can't do it, but it was a look that I had never seen before in my life. She was excited in a way that I have never seen before in my life. She was conveying an emotion that I'd never seen before. And that broke me. That was what pushed me over the edge. Because
damn, this video, like, it was funny at first, but this shit just got sad. Like, I just feel for homie, bro. I just want to give him a hug. He should have just said, fuck this, man. Get the fuck out my house. I don't want you to rail my wife anymore. I thought it was a good idea. This is a bad fucking idea, man. Just get out.
I knew there's no coming back from this. There's no coming back from knowing. This is a person who I thought that I have learned inside and out, right? And now I'm seeing that is not the case. She has been hiding this part of herself from me. Not hiding it, but it's just I've never seen it before. So that probably means there's a lot else that I haven't seen, maybe.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just sad. Like, how can you go on with your relationship after you see your wife being pleased by another guy? Like, there's no way. Well, I don't know. Like, how? I just don't understand.
It's my fault. We can argue that until the cows come home. But point is, I was realizing the true depth of how over our relationship was. And it was sort of like I had an out-of-body experience. Because all of a sudden I got up and I said, stop. And she got upset and she was like, what's the problem? It's annoyed. She was annoyed with me for stopping. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. She said, well, you said it was okay. And I said, I know I said that now, but now I'm taking it back. And I was getting more and more and more and more upset. At that point, I was 75% sure that we were getting a divorce. But she could have saved it. When she was annoyed with me for stopping, it went up to 90. And then I said, you know what? Goodbye. It's over. Oh. You two do whatever the hell you want in here, because you don't have to worry about me anymore. And I walked out. And I slammed the door behind me, and I walked down, and I got in my car. And I sat in the car. Nobody came out after me. I waited.
Damn, that's crazy. I mean, he's real for doing that. Like, he ended it. Kudos to him, but that's crazy that his wife did him like that. Like, at least go and talk to him, and then you could do whatever the fuck you want to do, But damn, that's fucking sad.
For 5 minutes in that car, like a loser, like a pathetic asshole. 5 minutes. I sat there waiting for somebody to come out, and nobody did. That's when I became 100%. She didn't come out. I said, it's over. Nothing. So I drove away and I went to a friend's house. And I stayed the night. And I got up the next morning. It was one of those, that night of sleep was so awful because I don't know if something ever happens where you wake up in the middle of the night and at first you forget, and you're like, maybe it was a dream, maybe it's not. And then you remember. And so I would wake up 10 o'clock, midnight, 3 o'clock. And I remember every single time, because I'd have to pee a lot, so I have to get up and pee a lot during the night, and so I'm a light sleeper. So I was getting up and remembering what had happened, and like every moment, every time that I remembered, it was like it was happening all over again.
Let me check the quality. All right, we're back. We are back. I just had to make sure that the audio was good because I noticed that it was maybe doubling, but nope, looks good. All right. Oh, it's because I have my mic audio and then what the screen's capturing. That's why I was tripping. All right. Okay, everything looks good. Y'all ready? We don't have nobody in here anyway. But we will one day. I fucking know it. I know it. We will have people in my room one day. All right, ready?
And I would check my phone to see if she had texted and said, I'm sorry, you know, I made a mistake, I love you so much, let's fix this. But nothing. Every time I checked, nothing. I wake up the next morning, and I go to work. I stop at home first, because I need to shower and change, and nobody's there. I text her, and I say, hey, where are you? Are you okay? You know? Nothing, no answer. So I go to work. And I don't even remember anything that happened that day. I was just typing mindlessly, trying to take my mind off of it. But I just couldn't focus on anything. I was like, this whole day is shot. And I keep checking my phone. I've got it turned all the way up. You know, when you turn it all the way up so that you hear the sound? Nothing. For the whole morning. Eventually, 11 a.m. rolls around. I get a call from an unknown number. And I think it's a sales call. I get a lot of sales calls, so I don't answer. Same number calls back immediately after. No, decline. Same number calls me back a third time. And I answer, and guy says, you know, this is so-and-so from the LAPD. Is this Dan Henschel? And I said, yeah, it is. He says, is your wife so-and-so? And I said she was. Not anymore. What's going on? She was in a car accident this morning. She's dead. And the whole world stopped around me. And I said,
wow. This story just got fucking crazy, bro. I did not expect that. Damn.
huh? He said she's dead. In retrospect, I probably should have asked what happened. But I didn't. I don't know why. I said, okay. And I hung up the phone. I think because it was one of those things where you don't really know how you're going to react in something like that. So I was just in shock. And I was trying to treat it like a normal phone call. So I said, okay, thanks. I said, thanks. Hang up. And it was like the whole, everything sort of went around me. My ears are ringing. It's like everything's gone. And I feel like Geppetto. I'm having an out-of-body experience. I go over to my boss's room and I say, I'm sorry. I think I said, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And the look on my boss's face could, she could tell. My boss is a female, by the way. So, write that down. She said, I can tell that you are, I can tell, well, all right, she didn't say that, but she basically was like, she looked just as shocked as me, I think because I was conveying extreme shock. And she said, okay, you can, do what you gotta do. I hope everything's okay. And I said, it's not. At this point, I realize I am crying and snot is running down my nose. And I realize I have to call the police guy back because I don't have any other information. I don't know where.
He low-key got an asshole boss. Like, you're not gonna fucking check on your worker here? He looks like shit. He's crying. You're just like, I hope it's okay. Leave. Like, damn. I would have been like, hey, man, you good? You know, what's going on? What an L boss.
She is. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on, etc., etc. I call the police guy back. And I ask, what the hell happened? What's going on with my wife? How did she die? What's going on? And he says, she was in the car with the guy from the previous night, this morning. And they were merging onto the interstate, and I guess they misjudged the timing of the semi-truck that was also merging. They flipped over off the overpass. Both dead. And I realized that now, for the rest of my life, the last time that I ever saw my wife was that face she made that I've never seen her make, of excitement that I've never seen, because she's about to get dicked down by some random man. I lied and I told my family that what we had gone out to eat the previous night and we had a beautiful evening and said we loved each other, but even then, eventually I couldn't keep up that lie because
I just, like, this video has like 570,000 views. Like, I just wonder what his family thought, her family thought, what they all thought when they watched this video. Like, damn, that's how Emily went out. That's how Sarah spent her last day. Like, fuck. That sucks to spend your last day doing that.
I had decided to end it 12 hours before she died. So her parents are trying to coordinate funeral crap with me. And eventually I just said, listen, we got a divorce the night before. We said it's over. So I don't want to be involved in this, okay? This is your problem. You deal with it. Leave me out of it. I don't want to be involved. And they said, they assumed that I was grieving. And so they said, no, it's, come on, it's okay. We love you. You're a part of this family. And I said, no, I'm not a part of this family. I'm nothing. She cocked me. And they said, what does that mean? I said, just don't worry about it, okay? That was me hanging up the phone. That's it. She's dead. That's how she died. I thought telling that story would make me feel better, but it didn't. Nothing will make me feel better. Because every time I think about her now, I think about that face. Every time.
Look at bro's shoes. He's got a suit with some loafers on. That was one of the most insane, wildest videos I've ever seen in my life. That was fucking crazy. Let me look at some of these comments, bro. Like, let me move this over so y'all can see. Let's go. First caption we got. This is what substitute teachers be talking about instead of actually teaching. Mind you, this is my first impression of you. Turns out my attention span is actually fine. I don't know if this was the proper use of exposure therapy. This video has 594,000. No, that's his subs. This has almost 1 million views. Almost 1 million. Bro, there's no way that... Look at some of this guy's titles. No, he's making this shit up, bro. Look at this. Damn, what happened to bro's eyebrows? I wonder how much money he makes off this channel. That's what I want to know. But he's pulling in some views, that's for sure. He has a video though. Let's filter to most popular. I saw my grandma pleasing herself. There's no way that this guy saw his grandma pleasing himself and just told that story. I accidentally came during a job interview. Bro's just telling the most. If that shit was not true, give this guy an Oscar. If that video that we just watched was not true, we need to give this guy an Oscar. Move aside Leonardo DiCaprio. Move aside Matthew McConaughey. Give this guy an Oscar. Because that shit, I feel like that was true. That video he just told. That was insane. What is his oldest video? Depression myths. Seasonal depression. Here, let's see something real quick. I'm going to see how much, an estimate of what he makes from this channel. Social Blade. Bring it up. All right. Social Blade. I am so curious. How much do you make on YouTube talking about getting cucked? These numbers are not going to be accurate, but they're going to be somewhat an average. Let's see. All right, so usually it's towards the higher end. So it says he could be making all the way up to $11,000 per month. Yeah. Even if it's somewhere in the middle, I'm sure he's making at least like $6,000 a month talking about getting cucked and shit, which is kind of insane. But that shit was crazy. That shit was
everybody. I wanted
crazy.
to talk a little.
Let's see, what other comments do we have in here? Oh wait, no, that's not the one. Where the hell? I don't know where it went. But that was a good video, I guess. Good video if that's what you want to call it.